The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, said the headline inflation rate increased year-on-year by 1.8 percentage points to 31.7% in February of 2024 from 29.9% in January of this same year. This represents the highest level of inflation recorded in 28 years. The Bureau disclosed these in its Consumer Price Index report for February of 2024, noting that food inflation also increased to 37.92% during the period from 35.24% in January of 2024. Now, looking at the movement, the February 2024 headline inflation rate showed an increase of 1.8 percentage points when compared to January 2023 headline inflation rate. Also, the month-on-month headline inflation rate in February of 2024 reached 3.12%, an increase of 0.48% from January of 2024 rate of 2.64%. This indicates that the pace at which average price rose in February 2024 exceeded the rate of price increase in January. This latest inflationary surge is despite tightened monetary policy by the central bank. At the latest monetary policy meeting, the Apex Bank increased the benchmark increased interest rate to about 400 basic points to record 22.75%. Justifying reasons for the hike, the CBN governor, Olayemi Cardoso, explained that members considered various scenarios, including whether to hold or hike policy, and concluded that inflation could become more persistent if the medium term and post more regulatory issues if not well anchored, thus voting for a significant high policy rate hike to drive down inflation rates. But it looks as if that didn't work. But the big question or the big story here for today is what now needs to be done to help drive down the inflation. And do we have what it takes to deal with the growing food inflation rate that seems to be the driver of the inflation rate thus far? Well, these and more as it concerns the latest release CPI of the nation by the National Bureau of Statistics is what this edition of the big story is all about. As we're still looking at the hardship in the country and looking at that very release of the National Bureau of Statistics indicating the Consumer Price Index for the month of February 2024, putting it at 1.7%. Like I said, that's what we're having today as a big one. We're talking about the Nigerian inflationary rate, which hits 31.7%, highest in 28 years. But anyway, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the present hardship that seems to be experienced by millions of Nigerians. And to truly help us look at this is no other but Comrade Emeka Owokocha is of the government for, or rather the movement for true democracy and good governance in the country, helping out to look at the issues. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Mike.
Now, sir, the last time we had such an inflationary rate was in 1996. I could still remember. And then we're just really thinking about the issue of military era, looking at how we can really go into that of democracy. When we had the hammer from the World Bank and other major bodies against the military junta of late Sani Abacha. That's when we had all of this. But funny enough, during that time, we were like 100 million persons. Now we're about 200 and. But irrespective of that, I just want your reaction. Looking at the present hardship, looking at that very inflationary rate released by the MBS, stating that we are now 31.7%, up from 29.9%. Your reaction to it as it concerns what's on ground?
Yes, Nigeria is a nation, and Nigeria is a member of the international community.
Most certainly.
And a nation that runs a government is expected to be responsible, right?
Yes.
In other words, the policies should be properly thought out by reasonable personalities, okay, which should be the representative of, the brand called Nigeria.
Most certainly.
So I do not blame MBS, for coming out with this data, because you must present the data as other clients do for international communities to understand how your economy is running. But looking at it critically and trying to look at the veracity of that 31.7% inflation rate, from the current trend, as in what we see every day, you know, you discover that the MBS is not sincere. I have time with that number, you know, lashed out at them that they should stop deceiving passionate Nigerians who understand how these things run. Sir, I don't even need, you know, to be a professor in statistics or data management for me to understand, you know, how inflation, the inflationary rate of Nigeria is spiraling currently. Take, for instance, you know, the bag of rice before the present administration came on board. How much were we buying a basket of rice?
Yeah.
I want to look at it from the layman's angle, what inflation truly means, not from these figures or data. You know, they're bringing out, they're rolling out for political. Let's look at it as it affects the common man, ordinary man, you know, ordinary man in the street. Now, I could tell you that going by the current price of some brand of rice, which is at 70,000 naira, that means one basket of rice is about 5,000 plus.
Or 7,000.
Plus. Now, look at it. Before he came on board, I will tell you, the price of one basket of rice wasn't beyond 2,500. Now, I want to tell you from the primary angle of mathematics. Now, 2,005 to about 6,000, sir. How many percentage of it? About 200 plus percentage on the commodity called rice.
Just the commodity called
Just the commodity called rice. So, and these things cut across board. Are you talking about noodles? Are you talking about beverages? Are you talking about the beans? Every, you know, item, every food product, every staple food in the Nigerian market, as I would attest to, you know, has astronomically increased beyond the reach of the common man. And to further embarrass you, sir, your minimum wage, which is put at 30,000 naira, could get you 66 cups of rice. Simply put. Now, sir, these are shocking analysis.
Yes.
These are the data that stare us in the face every day. Now, to juxtapose it with what MBS has come to put on board, perhaps it's cosmetic. Perhaps that is what they feel.
So you feel they're economical with the truth?
Whether they have the truth, I don't know. Whether they are out to deceive Nigerians, I don't know. But what you are telling to critique the data, it does not represent the true realities of the suffering of the people. If the inflationary rate of Nigeria is put at 31.7, Nigerians should complain.
You feel it's more than that. And
I have told you from the analysis that the inflation rate of Nigeria is inestimable, beyond 100, 120, 50%. As it concerns the common good, that the Nigerians or Nigerians depend on every day. If the inflationary rate is truly at 31.7, no Nigerian will lament. No Nigerian will lament. Because Nigerians are enduring people. It is quite insignificant to what hardship Nigerians have been enduring over the years. That 1% increase in terms of inflationary rate shouldn't cause any trouble to the Nigerian mind. But the problem is that we have had a bastardized economy. We have a tumble down economy. We have an economy that doesn't have any bearing. That the country, the leadership has lost their focus. Ordinarily, the only way you could project the progress of a people is from their earnings. Yeah. Their earnings, that is why they call it the living wage. They say they will pay you a salary that will take you home. In other words, you should be able to meet all your needs. Yeah. You should be able to, you know, pay for your accommodation, take care of your 2-3 children, your transportation, their feeding, their transportation, everything, their well-being, everything are, you know,
encompassed,
brought together, you know, to come about the salary. So, the simple truth is this. Would you say the average Nigerian man, you know, could even fend for himself, not to talk about his family? For me, I'm even surprised, you know, how Nigerians are eking out a living. But then, that I'm here today, I'm surviving, is that I'm among the few privileged ones. Nigerians are dying in their droves, unrecorded, unreported, in the suburb, in the communities, in the villages. everywhere. That is the fact.
You know, that's why...
The kind of hunger, of starvation, of poverty.
Come, I'll plead with you to hold on, because that's why I asked the initial question. And if you understood how I started, I said the last time we had such inflation was in 1996. And what brought about that inflation is we're hammered by international community and other major organizations. Sanctions were imposed on us because of the military junta of then. And especially immediately after that infamous annulment of the June 12th election. So we understood why the inflationary rate was high then. Nothing was coming into the country. Neither could we even sell our oil and make a lot. So we understood the issues. But now, just like you said, let's look at the present hardship. You cannot compare what it was 28 years ago to what it is now. If you even look at what we've gained so far or thus far over the years, we seem to even get more money now than we used to be before. But the question still remains. Looking at this inflationary rate, and I'm happy you broke it down to the ordinary Nigerian. But I want us to still remain there and look at how it has affected us drastically. We're not talking of not having enough coming in, but we're talking about high cost of what we even have here. So it's quite different from what we experienced in 28 years ago in 1996. Then we're not having enough, but now we're having enough, but yet our money seems not to have that value, just like what you said. So let's look at what it is and how it has affected every facet. I'm not just talking about ordinary Nigeria, but every facet of their life. We're talking about that of transportation, we're talking of housing, we're talking about fielding, we're talking about health. Now, drugs are pretty expensive. So taking care of Nigerians now, they are going the herbal way, just to cut ends and make life meaningful. So let's look at that. Why is it that we're not still having a lot coming, but yet ordinary Nigerians cannot go by?
There are many troubles besetting this country. I think a leadership, that knows its onions,
yes,
would source for domestic solutions to our current economic quagmire. Domestic solutions.
Are you saying the IMF is not leading us in the right
direction? Let me tell you something.
Because I seem to know where
they should ignore the predictions of the IMF, the predictions of the World Bank, the economic predictions of IMF and the World Bank. A government that knows its onions, I want to repeat myself, should jettison those economic predictions. Let us source for domestic solutions to our economic problems. Mr. Mike, it is doable, it's solvable. And you know one thing? It beats my imagination when I understand something, that Nigeria is a part of the international, division of labor.
Yeah.
Which, means that Nigeria is restricted to providing raw materials and consume finished products. I was hyped when I got to know about that. And every measures made, to advance our export has been met with stiff resistance. Who is putting resistance? The international communities. That's why I told you, jettison the economic predictions of IMF, jettison the economic provision of the World Bank. Let us source for domestic solutions to our problems, Mr. Mike. But why I said that, sincerity of purpose must be the driving force. Are our leaders actually concerned? Have they told themselves that we need to vacate this e-road? They say you cannot make a progress unless you agree. Forget about what they will come in the open to showcase. They say there's no art in the mass construction. There's no art to show the mass construction in the face. They might be looking progressive, looking patriotic in the open. But within their heart, do they believe in the project called Nigeria? I have told people that Nigeria does not have a problem. If our leaders can beat a detour and say we are ready to wear the garb or Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, I want to fill this country in a year, Mr. Mike. you will see the turnaround in every sector of this country. So our problem is our leaders have not still believed that they want to feed this country. What they believe in is go there, scramble for the resources, for their own personal aggrandizement. They don't care for the common man. And that is why at the National Assembly, if you see the character, if you see their courage there, does it show a people that have concern for the dying Nigerians in Okinipupa? It doesn't show. Their courage doesn't show. But we want to see them with gloomy faces. We want to see them be concerned, knowing that this country is sinking, that we are all boarded and infected vehicle heading to perdition that we need to stop. But you don't even see that in them. Rather, they are glorifying their ill-gotten wealth in the manner they dress, in the manner they talk, in the manner they carry themselves. So that is just it. We must begin to, address the basics, knowing fully well that our leaders are not ready to fix Nigeria. So the problem we find ourselves is self-inflicted woes. When they are ready, this country will jumpstart. We have everything, Mr. Mike. Are you not surprised that still to date, this country cannot meet its 1.8 million barrels of petrol as OPEC quota? I'm asking you, a government that actually means business, what is the problem? The problems are solvable, but it demands political will. It demands commitment. It demands sacrifice. It demands patriotism. It demands love. It demands direction. And do you have the magic wand and the Midas touch to bring about these changes? So our problem is self-inflicted. So whatever they come to tell you is more or less like a placebo to keep the people going. But where the ills are still there, unsolved. So let us say these things the way they are. I cannot be bamboozled by whatever data they bring in, because I understand the dynamics of the data. I understand, the odds besetting this country. Because I am among the less privileged. So I should be able to tell you what I feel. So, Mr. Mike, the question you have just asked is germane. But taking it back is, are our leaders ready to feed this country? Are we ready to kill corruption among ourselves? Are we ready to stop profligate spending? Are we ready, to be prudent, to be frugal about public resources, Mr. Mike? Are we ready? We have seen countries vacated the euro. For instance, I will give you an example of China. Within 20 years, when about 88% of Chinese were living below poverty line, the leader said, no, we have to do something drastically. And they stuck to their belief. And they stuck to their decisions. Within 20 years, China was able to put 850 million Chinese out of poverty. On the average, 42 million per year. And that, feat was equated as a modern day miracle. India replicated it within the space of 10 years. Between 2006 and 2016, India was able to pull 273 million Indians out of poverty. In other words, about 27 million of Indians were pulled out of poverty every year. Mr. Mike, if we should replicate that, these guys are humans. They are not angels. What's our population? 220 by estimation. If we start pulling 15 million Nigerians out of poverty every year, in the next 7 years, Mr. Mike, we would have erased poverty on the surface of Nigeria. These things are doable, Mr. Mike. What are you talking about? Today, India is not talking about how to put food on the table of the Indians. They have gone to space, to the moon.
And we will not go on the moon, but rather go on a break. And we will not go to the moon, but rather go on a break. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as it concerns the recent release CPI coming from the National Bureau of Statistics, indicating that we're now 31.7% inflationary rate, one that is highest since 1996, when sanctions were placed on Nigeria due to the issue of having the junta ruling us out of 10. Let's go on a break.